Hello everyone, I hope you all are doing great. A warm welcome to the Expert Edge Masterclass brought to you by the Shine.com. We're really excited to have you join us today for this session where we'll explore advanced web design and performance optimization and gain valuable insight to enhance your skill. Before we dive into the session, let me introduce myself. I'm your host Preeti. Now, let me introduce our speaker for today, Mr. Avinash Malhotra. As a CEO at Tech Altum and an IIT alumni, Avinash brings over 12 years of experience in the tech industry. He is specialized in teaching web design, UI development, and front end development. With expertise in modern technologies like JavaScript, ES6, Advanced JS, Node.js, Angular, and full stack web development, his training approach focus on real world applications, helping learners master both fundamental and advanced web technologies through his guidance. Many professionals have built successful career in web development. With this vast experience and deep expertise, Avinash is here to share practical insight and industry's best practice. I encourage all to stay engaged, ask questions, and take full advantage of this opportunity to learn from a seasoned expert. Without further delay, let's welcome Mr. Avinash Malhotra to lead today's session. Over to you, Avinash.
Hello, thanks Preeti. So good evening everyone. So I'm Avinash Malhotra. So I'm here to present a webinar on advanced web designing and performance optimization techniques. So like Preeti already told you about my area of expertise. So I'm a full stack web developer teacher. I'm a 1 second. So I'm a full stack web developer, and mainly my area of research or teaching is mean stack. So mean stack stands for MongoDB, Express, Angular, and Node.js. Okay, so I'm teaching front end web designing, web development since the last 13 years, and it was 2012 when we have started this journey. And approximately 6,000 plus candidates I have already trained. My students are already working in top MNC. In fact, I'm a corporate trainer. I'm presenting seminars to corporate classes and in corporate classes, even in universities. Okay. All right. So let me start with the topic. Okay, I've shared my screen. So my screen is visible to everyone. Any screen resolution issue? Anyone is facing any screen issue? If you know, you can just let me know in the comment section. All right then. Thank you.
Your screen is visible, Avinash.
Yeah, I can see that, but there's a participant. I think he's unable to see. Okay. So the topic for today's webinar is advanced web designing and performance optimization techniques. So the thing is that web designing is not a new term. It is very old now. And we have done from web designing to web development, full stack web application development. You see. Okay. So earlier the old term name was web designing. So basically a web designing means a person who is designing a website. Also there is a term called web developer. So web developer means a person who is developing a website. Developing means the usually the backend part, but also the front end part, because the website includes both front end and the backend part. Okay. Okay. Yes, Kiran, I've got your message. Thank you. So in this online session, we will learn all the new techniques, the new modern features in advanced web designing and the performance optimization technique one by one. But first, let me introduce myself. So my name is Avinash Malhotra. I'm the co-founder of Tech Altum. I'm from IIT Kharagpur and my GATE All India rank was 120. I have approx 13 years plus experience, more than 13 plus now. I'm a Microsoft certified HTML5 and JavaScript professional and I have written approx 500 plus blogs on Tech Altum tutorial. My main subjects which I am teaching are front-end, PSD, Figma to HTML, JavaScript ES6 and above, Angular, Node.js, and Mean Stack. Okay. So what's new in web designing? So first of all, I would like to start with something new in modern website designing. Like the web designing term, like I told you, it's not new. It's been 35 plus years now. We have started with the first website. Even I will show you the look and feel, the live website, the URL of the first worldwide website. So this is the first website which was launched in 1989, means 1989. So this was the website of Sun. Centered European Nuclear Research. So you can see this. One second. So this is the website of CERN, Central European Nuclear Research, and they have launched the first website in 1989. I think the home page is a bit slow today. Might be some issue with the server. So this is the birth of web, how the first website was started, and this is the link of first website. So it was a very simple website just to represent some text, just to share text among different scientists and IT professionals, computer engineers. This is the first render page. I think the site is not reachable by today. So this is the first screenshot of the first website. You can see the light mode browser base. So how the first website was displayed. So this is the live screenshot. Okay. But now the story is different. From HTML to we have started with HTML and CSS. In the modern website, we have HTML5. In fact, we are using the modern image extensions, the modern picture extension. We are using SVGs, we are using WebP images, which are 35% lighter than normal traditional JPEG and PNG images. We are using SRC set for higher resolution images, like for MacBooks and ultra high definition devices. And we can also use a loading attribute. So let me start with the code example so that you can get all those things. I'll start with the simple VS Code editor and let me create a new folder on my desktop. The name is demo or webinar. I'll open this in VS Code, which is a common editor, the number one code editor in IDE for front-end and full stack web developers. So it is open source, so that is also one of the reason. I'll start with a static simple HTML file, which is index and extension is .html. The boilerplate code, we all know, using exclamation mark, we can get all the basic stuff in VS Code. The title is, let's suppose, Advanced Web Designing. And this is also my H1. And this is my live window. Okay. So let's start with the picture or image optimization part in advanced website designing. So like we all know, when we build a website, the performance is the major issues in all the websites. And that is why we have different technologies like we use PHP, we use .NET, we use Java, we can use Node.js as a different backend language. But for all the different websites, the front-end part is same. We have to use three languages like HTML, CSS, and JavaScript for the web part. I have my online tutorial for all the front-end and back-end technologies, all the articles written by me. So this is the front end part of a website where we have HTML, CSS, and JavaScript. And for the advanced part, we can even use some advanced library and framework like React or Angular. For the backend part, we have a server, we also have a database. In fact, the same picture which I have shared on my blog is used by the University of Washington. See, this is the official blog of Washington University. So even they are using the same content from my website. So all my articles are latest and up to dated. So the core part is still same, like HTML, CSS, and JavaScript. They are the core technologies to build any website. But yes, to build a high level or like a single page application, we have to use some advanced framework and libraries. Like we have React, which is the number one JavaScript popular library nowadays. We also have Angular, which is a front-end framework, and we also have Vue, which is again a library part. For the backend, we have different languages like we have PHP as a .NET and then Java, Node, Python, and we also have different backend database for the part. We have SQL based databases. We also have no SQL based databases. In fact, the performance also depends on which backend language which we are using. Like if we're using Java, so obviously we will get better performance as compared to PHP, .NET, and Python. But yes, Node.js is also equal important. Node.js is also very fast, just like Java. And that is also one of the reason Node is among top 5 popular backend languages nowadays. PHP is the number one choice. It is lightweight, it is easy, and also the deployment means the hosting part of PHP is very easy. Means you can host a website by just spending 500 rupees a year. But for other backends, we have to pay the huge amount. Like we have to buy a VPS, a private server, which will cost like if you use AWS, so minimum you have to pay is like $5, and you can even go for the better plans like $7 or $10 a month. So that is why PHP is the number one choice. So in a website, we always start with the HTML part. So HTML is hypertext markup language, and currently we are using the modern version of HTML, which is HTML5. In fact, the sub version of HTML5 is HTML 5.3, which was introduced in 2021. So we have various different aspects now, some image optimization techniques. So let me start with the first technique for picture optimization in a website. I'll use a folder where I have some sample images. I'll just paste this in the webinar folder. So this is a folder with so many different images. There's an SVG image for Ashok Chakra, then a background image, then we have some SVGs and some other type of images. Okay. All right. So let me start with the first picture, and normally we use this thing to create a picture in HTML. We have a simple image tag with src and alt. For src, I'll use the directory image, and then let me start with a simple picture. Let's say image 1, which is JPG, Joint Photographic Expert Group. So this is my picture. Okay. So it's a normal picture. If we inspect the code, we can check the size of the image. So I have disabled the cache. So the actual size of this picture is 20.3 KB. Okay. Which is good. It's not very high. So it's a medium size picture. But in modern website, we should avoid using JPG image. Instead, we should prefer a modern picture extension, which is WebP, web picture. So this is called WebP, means web picture. Let me see. So you can hardly see any difference between the quality part, but yes, the picture size is just 19.3 KB. So that means it's 35% less than the actual JPEG image. And if you check both the images, you can hardly see any difference in quality. So this is also one of the first trick which we are using nowadays. We are avoid using JPEG image. Instead, we should prefer using WebP. So WebP is approx 35% lighter than the JPEG, but quality wise, both are almost same. But yes, there is one issue when we use the WebP image. For all the pictures, we have to prefer using alt because alt is the alternative of image. So let's suppose this is a flower, and alt is also recommended for web accessibility purpose. So this is a normal web image. But there's one simple issue with the WebP image, and that is some old browser doesn't support WebP image. For that, you can always check a website called Can I Use? So can I use this thing or not? So let me start with WebP. In fact, the number one search term on Can I Use is the WebP image format. So let me search WebP. So as you can see there, WebP in India is used by 99.46%, approximately 99.5. So in short, out of 200, there will be a person whose browser doesn't support WebP image. So obviously, if the image is not visible, there is no fallback. He will only see the alt. So this is the alt, like the picture is missing. So he can see your picture like this. So, but this is not good thing. Obviously, we should. So that's why so many e-commerce applications or websites are still using JPG, because for JPG you can get proper browser support. But yes, for WebP, there's another way we can use the picture tag. This is the picture element in HTML5. And now put your WebP image inside. But there, instead of using this picture extension, we should prefer using the old one, like image, then image1.jpg. So this is the previous extension, but before that, use a source element. This is the source element in picture. Then add two attributes like src set, which is the source of web image, and also use a type attribute, type the type of image. So this is the image of type webp. Just add this thing. Now let's see what's happening. On my browser, I can see the WebP image. So you can see it's 12.9 KB, the lightweight image. But in case this picture is not supported by the user browser, automatically the browser will pick up the backup one. This is the backup image, JPEG. So in short, we are using two different images, the modern one and also the outdated one. So for this outdated image, we are targeting the 0.5% Indian users. And if we talk about globally, so you can see 96.82% means almost 97% users are still using the outdated browsers. So that means their browser doesn't support the WebP image format. Okay. So this is how we are using the WebP image as a substitute of JPEG and PNG. But there's one more thing, like nowadays we are getting better screens, like high quality images, high modern laptops. Like if I check my laptop, so I'm using a MacBook Pro with the MacBook Pro chip. So the viewport part of my laptop is 1512. So this is the viewport, not the actual screen. My laptop's actual screen is 3K, it's 3000 pixels. You can check your browser console and use the screen object in JavaScript. So this is my available width 1512. But if I check the DPR, device pixel ratio, it is 2. In short, for this picture, so the size of this picture is 400. See, this is the picture 400 by 300. And always use width and height attribute with images. Like this is 400 and this is 300. Okay. Why I recommend using width and height attribute? So the reason is the loading of picture. So this is my heading. Then we have a picture tag and then we have a paragraph. Now, we know when a web browser loads a web page, the first thing is parsing and then is rendering. So as your browser will parse your element, it will start rendering those elements on your screen. The first element is H1, which is the heading. The next element is picture, and the third one is the paragraph. But if I refresh my screen, you can see the picture is flashing just for some milliseconds. If I avoid using width and height, see the problem. So you can see during the flashing point, the paragraph is loaded at the top. See the cursor? This is the position of paragraph. So earlier the paragraph was loaded at this point, and after some time the paragraph was shifted to this point when the image was loaded. So that means first the browser will wait for the picture, and when the whole picture is loaded, after that the paragraph will be shifted to the bottom. So this is poor user experience. So we use width and height as a placeholder. Means your browser will preoccupy this space for the image. So image will be loaded, but after some milliseconds. Let's see how much. You can see it's 4 milliseconds because it's a local image. But till there, that 4 millisecond, this part is the paragraph will be rendered, but at the bottom. See? So this is also one of the trick for good user experience. Now, talk about one more factor, and that is how we can add high quality images for modern devices, but not for old devices. For that, I can use the same image tag, but I have to use two images. First is SRC. Let's say I'm using a picture. I have a picture of my front-end batch, which is WebP. Okay, so this is a picture, but the quality of this picture is not so good. I have a better picture with twice the number of pixels, this one, WebP 2x, and see the size of this picture is double. So the picture size is more, it's 189 KB, and the previous picture was just 70 or 80 KB. Yeah, 78.5. It's half the size. So I want to use this picture. The alt of this is, let's suppose, front-end web. So this is front-end web development, and then I need to use the width and height. I can click on the picture using control click, and this is the dimension of image 800 by 400. Again, it's recommended for accessibility purpose. So this is the picture. But the thing is, this picture is only recommended for devices with DPR1, means device pixel ratio 1 or less. It's not recommended for the devices with higher resolution, means having DPR more than 1. So what I'm gonna use, gonna use another attribute called SRC set. This will add a source set of another image. So I'm using image like the same folder img, and then now the IntelliSys is not proper, so I have to type front hyphen end dot webp, but there is a picture hyphen 2x. So this is the modern image with double resolution. See, so right now my browser is loading the 2x image. If SRC set is not available, so by default your browser will load the previous one. Okay, but there should be some condition now when we want to load this image. For that, you can simply type 2x. So this 2x means the laptop with DPR factor 2 and more. So let me check the DPR of my laptop. So it is 2. So that's why my browser will load the high quality image. You can check the network. This picture is 2x. Okay. But if I go to inspect, or you can choose a mobile and choose responsive design. So see, the DPR is 2. For the 2 DPR, the picture is 2x, means a high quality one. But let's suppose I change the DPR from 1 2 to 1, means for a normal laptop like a Windows laptop with a 5 or 6 year old, those are just 1366 or less. If I choose a laptop with 1 DPR like the desktop in my institute's lab, so if I refresh the page, you can see the old image format, means it is WebP but with less pixels and low quality. So this is a 78.5 KB image for 1 DPI device. For 2 DPI devices, it's 189 KB. So means your browser will automatically pick the best picture as per the requirement. But yes, there are so many Windows laptops nowadays with DPR 1.25, means it's more than 1, or DPR 1.5 or DPR 2.5. Like for MacBook, the standard is 2. So for that, you can simply prefer using 1.25x. So in short, this picture will be supported on all the devices with full HD resolution and more. Okay. Sorry. So see, this is DPR2. The picture is this one. And for 1 DPR, the picture is the traditional one. So this is the normal image. And this one is my high quality image. See, it's 70. So if I refresh, see, this is 189 KB. So this is how we can use a high quality image for a device with better screens, better DPR factors, more quality, and for the normal devices, we can use the previous one. Okay. So this is also one of the modern way to use a picture. Another technique for the images is called use loading lazy. So sometimes we have a website but the picture is not visible on the viewport. Viewport means the first visible area. Like in the viewport, we have a heading and a paragraph. Let's suppose we have this picture on viewport. So this picture is visible on viewport. Then we have a paragraph. But there's one more image, but we need to scroll down to get that one. Like let's suppose I'm talking about this picture. So this picture is at the bottom, but by default my browser will pick both the pictures, this one and this one at same time. See? So this picture is at the viewport. So obviously the first priority should be this image, not this one, because this one is at the bottom. So there is another attribute called loading lazy. It is supported by all the modern browsers now. Now see, your browser will pick this image first, and when we'll start scrolling, then the next picture will be displayed. Mean this picture will be delayed by some time. The time we will start scrolling a page. Let's suppose I'll give you a real-time example. This is my website. This is my network. Okay. Now when I'll start scrolling, some more content will be loaded. Some new request. So now there's a picture at the bottom. See this web image. Now this picture is loaded. HTML and CSS. This one I'm talking. So this picture comes later on. Where is the picture? Yeah, this one. So as you can see, this picture is 42 KB. It is WebP, but yes, this picture was loaded later on, not on initial stage. Why? Because I'm using the loading equal to lazy for this particular image. Okay, so this is the picture. This is an attribute loading equal to lazy. We should recommend using this attribute on images. Those are not on viewport, and also for the iframe elements. So if you are using an iframe element, again recommend using the loading lazy for the iframe tag. Okay, this is also another optimization technique for the images and iframe. So loading lazy is recommended for both images and the iframe element. So this is how, and for the all the vector pictures, we should always stop using the old GIF images, graphic interchangeable format. So these are very means poor quality and they are even slower. Always prefer SVG images. SVGs are lightweight and they are vectors. So that means if you zoom the picture, there is no fluctuation. The picture is not raster. So this is how we can use SVG images, we can use WebP images, and we can also use the SRC set and the loading attribute. And this is the picture element. So this is the automation for the pictures. Next, we'll start with the WebM for videos. So obviously nowadays we're using more multimedia elements like animations and videos. Usually the simple approach for video is like videos are a part of HTML5. So we can simply use a picture with some extension. I don't have a video over there. So let me just English. Okay. So this is the folder for some media. So this is the media folder. I'll start with the media and then I'll pick this picture. This is techaltum.mp4, a normal video with controls attribute. And again, we should always recommend using width and height for videos and always check the aspect ratio of the video. Like this picture is of 16 by 9. See this, the 1280 by 720. So the aspect ratio of this video is 1.77, which is 16 by 9. Okay. It's 1280 means HD and this is 720. 1 second, it's 720 now. Yes, the height is 720. Now this is the picture. If I click on the play video, see the picture is playing. But this video is also heavy in size because this is a outdated video extension. So like if you go to the media, check this MP4. This is my MP4. and this the size of this MP4 is 28.5 MB. But yes, it is supported by all the modern devices, including your smart TVs, your mobiles, everywhere. But we have a better extension called WebM. This one, it just 6.9 KB. In fact, it is 50% more than 50% lighter than the previous one. So instead of using a normal MP4, we should prefer WebM. This is a web app image. The quality is good and the performance is very fast. But again, there is the performance issue, compatibility issue. If you check WebM, web media, so you can see it is supported by same 99.57%. So this is another video format and it's still not supported by 100% Indian users and only 97% global users. So that means we should avoid using this or we should prefer using another modern technique. For that modern technique, we have a video tag. So this is the HTML5 audio and video. Usually I prefer using MP4, but for the modern devices, we should prefer using this trick. So we should prefer using this trick, the video with two sources. Okay, so video with two different sources. But for the next source, we should always prefer the type. So instead of using a single video, I cut this SRC and use the source and type. So the first SRC set is media webm and the second one is mp4. But make sure the type should be it's a video slash webm and this is again a video slash webp, not it's mp4. Okay, so now we have two different sources. Let me see in my inspect. So my browser is loading webp images and all right, there's some issue with the picture media. Okay, it's not working. Okay, SRC set is only recommended for image. This is source, na? Yeah, we should using source here. Okay, again it's not working. 1 second. Source media dot mp4 dot mpm video slash webp. Why the extension src? This is a video. Okay, src should be removed.
Avinash,
Yes.
your voice is very low.
All right, just a minute.
No, no, it's fine.
All right, so this picture is working and now I enable this picture, video webm. Yeah, now it's working. So now as you can see in the inspect, the webm video extension is loaded. Okay, so my browser is loading the webm image. See, this is webm video. But if the webm is not available, or let's suppose it's not supported for your by your browser, then you can see my browser is loading MP4, which means the old video format. So that means we have both the options. So we can use the WebM, but for as a backup, we should always prefer using MP4 for images and videos optimization in a modern website. Okay. Okay. So this is how we can use the video optimization. Because if I use this video, the video size is very less. As you have seen this, see the MP4 is 28.5 for a HD video, but for the same WebM video, it's just 6.9 means 7 MB. Okay, although the quality is almost same. So we should prefer using webm for videos. We should also focus on web accessibility. Now for a video, like for a picture, the accessibility part is the alt tag. alt attribute. But for the video, we should consider using a subtitle. So for the subtitles, we should prefer using a track attribute. So this is a track attribute, and track is used to add the subtitles in video. It's a kind caption. The SRC is media. Then let's suppose this is subtitle. Language is English and the label is English. One more subtitle I can use if I want to use two subtitles. Let's suppose this is Hindi. So language name will be SRC Lang HI, and the label should be in Devanagari. क्योंकि Hindi is written in Devanagari, so it's better to use a label in Devanagari. Yes, like this. Okay. Now see, we have a video, but there's also support for the subtitle. So you can see there's a caption for English, and this is the caption for Hindi. Okay. So this is how we can use subtitles for a video. So this can also add accessibility to the videos. Okay. So also we can start using if you want to work means start your working your website as a progressive web application. This is also good or recommended. PWA are basically your websites, but yeah, they can be installed locally. Although it's a bit tricky to create PWA in this webinar, I can show you a simple trick. Like this is my tutorial, and this is a link for the application. If I click on this, so you can see my tutorial is open in a Chrome window. So in short, this website can work as an application. See this? This is my Tech Altum tutorial. It's a link, but if I click on this, the link will open my tutorial. So this website is also a PWA, means a progressive web application. So that means it is installable. But yes, it is a bit tricky to learn PWA in this webinar in just 1.5 minute of time. So I'll move to the next topic. Although it's not a part of web application, means performance. The next part is we should prefer using the modern CSS and advanced features. Like instead of using float and tables, we should start preferring the modern flexbox and the grid-based layout. The difference between both is flexbox is used for one-dimensional layout, means when we want to align the elements, and grid we should prefer when we want to build a layout. So Flexbox is mainly for 1D, one-dimensional layouts, and Grid is mainly recommended for the 2D, the two-dimensional one. So this is Flexbox. This is just used to align items in a single row or in a column. Like we have 4 items in a single row. So this is the default display block, and if I use display flex to the parent, this is the default interface. We can change the direction in Flexbox. We can change the wrap, like from no wrap to wrap and wrap reverse. We can even change the flow, like it's a combination of two properties. We can use justify to align item on main axis, like this is the main, means row axis. See this, we can align item on start and center, and we can use space between. We can also use vertical alignment using align item like start and center or the baseline. So this is Flexbox, which is mainly used to align items on one axis, either it's row or column. So that means we have one axis at one time. Means either the row is your main axis or the column. So we have to define that, like if row is, this is your row axis, means x-axis. If you're using column, then this is your main axis. So at one time we can use only one axis, and that's why we should prefer using grids. Grid is mainly for two-dimensional layouts, means we have both the options. We have row and column in a single layout, and grid is also supported by the outdated Microsoft browser Internet Explorer. In fact, it's almost 7 to 8 years old, the display grid. So we should start consider using display grid instead of using float and only flexbox. So grid level is very high. In fact, there is a new level of grid in upcoming year, that is grid level 2, the nested grid part. So grid can create a 2D layout. So that means we can have row and column, both the parts. We can use some advanced function like repetition, repeat part, the min max part. The we can, so this is my row and these are my columns. So we have to define repeat my columns, two column in a row, And for the rows, first should be 100 and the second one should be 200. This is 200, this is 200 in height. We can create a simple layout, like this is a simple website layout we have seen, like a header, nav, a side section and footer, by using the grid and then just using the row and column. So this is my first row and column is 1 to 5, means first to 5 line. This is second row, again 1 to 5, 1 to 5. This is third row, but the column is 1 to 2, means up to this. Even in your Chrome browser, you can inspect and click on this. So these are your lines. One line, two line, three, four, and five. These are the 5 lines for row. And these are the lines for your columns. So sorry, these are rows and these are your column lines. Okay. So grid is better to create a complex layout like two-dimensional. So they are this one type and even some more advanced one. We even have support of CSS variables and functions. So although we say CSS is not a programming language, but yes, we have some smart features in CSS. So it's just like I'm using a smartphone. So smartphone is not a complete PC, or smart TV is not a complete PC. It's not a PC, means like it's not a personal computer. But yes, we can add, we can install apps and we can use internet for the OTT contents. Like, or we can even use video chats on the smart TVs. So in CSS, we also have variables and function support. So this feature was introduced approx 4 to 5 years back. So let's have a look how these features works in CSS. So in the root element or the HTML, we can define some specific variables. Let's suppose this is my red color, okay, and this is my blue color. So I have defined my color codes in the variable, and when we want to use them, just simply use background and use a function called var, means variable. So these are two variables, red and blue. Just type blue. Now your body background will be blue. And if you type red, this is the variable name. So in fact, you can even define all your gradients here. So if you define your gradients here, so your page will upload gradients. So that means you can repeat your code a number of times if you are defining variables and functions in CSS. This is how we can define variable. We also have function support, like we have a calc function in CSS. So let's suppose for some complex part, like this is my H1, I just use a background color. This is my H1 with gray background. So let me add some width in pixels. So for normally 50%, I can use 50%, but I can also use some mathematical functions like calc. So calc means calculate the width. So it should be 1 divided by 12 into 100%. So mathematically it is 8.33%. So see this, the width of H1 is 8.33% of the viewport. If you want more, let's suppose you want 25%, you can type 3 divided by 12 into 100%. So this means it is 25% of the viewport. So this feature was introduced in 2019 and 18. It's almost 5 to 6 years now. There's another new feature which was introduced just last year in CSS, and that is we can even use logarithmic and sine function in CSS. How? Let's say 100% into sine function, and let's suppose sine 30 dig. See, this is half. So sine 30 is 1 by 2. So 1 by 2 into 100 will be 100, 50%. So now even CSS supports logarithmic and the sine function. So see this is sine 30 degree. So if I change, this is 0 and now I can increase. This is 30, okay, and now this is sine 45, okay. For 90 it will be 1. Now the speed will decrease and this is 90. So now at 90 this is 1. If I want 0, I can use 180 degrees. So 180 degrees 0. Okay. So we can even use these things for animations in CSS3. So this is the new things in CSS. We have next level of responsive website design. So like earlier we use media query in a simple way. So we have to use media screen and then we have to prefer max width for maximum width. So let's suppose I want maximum width 1440 pixels. So instead of using this feature, you can simply type in CSS direct mathematics part. How? If your width is less than equal to 1400 pixel. So this is the easy way. Okay. You can even use the more complex one. Use to and should be greater than 1440 and width should be less than 1440 but greater than 1000 pixels. Let's see. For this, let's make sure your body background should be aqua. Now let me reduce the width. So my screen is a bit more, it's 1500. Go to responsive. So see if my screen is under these parameters, so the color of the background is different. Okay. We should prefer using responsive font sizes, like we should prefer using REM instead of using EM in modern CSS layout designs. Okay. We can even prefer the scroll snap. Scroll snap is a modern feature where our website simply works like a PPT, like this one. So in this element, if I scroll, you can see the content will be fully visible. The second one, this is X level scrolling, and that one is Y level, means top to bottom or left to right. So we have can use the scroll snap to make a carousel or a picture slider like this one. But for this is proximity means the nearest value. This is mandatory means if I scroll just a bit, see the full section 2 will be loaded. Okay. So these are some another features of CSS, modern CSS. And we can even use the preprocessor in CSS like SAS or less. SAS is not new. It's almost been 10 plus years I'm teaching SAS. So for a website with a huge CSS code, I always recommend instead of using vanilla CSS, always prefer using SAS. So SAS is a CSS preprocessor which compile your normal CSS to traditional CSS. SAS gets less code, variables, functions, the import feature, and it is very easy to maintain and we can simply extend the code. But obviously for that you should install Node.js first and then install SAS and then you can use it. So SAS will compile your .sas file to traditional CSS files. So it's recommended for the website with more CSS code like multiple pages website where the complexity is more. For all the advanced JavaScript part, we have so many new good features in JavaScript like we have block scope element like let and const. So let and const are better to use than variables in JavaScript. So the difference is if I use a variable, even I can define a variable without initializing. See this is the default JS means we can write a JavaScript same like Python and there is no issue with the code. The code is still working. Although we can use the strict mode which is use strict introduced in 2009 means ES5. Now variable declaration is compulsory. So we have to define using var. But there is a hosting issue. We can print this value at the top means even before initialization, we can use the value of variable. This is called variable hosting in JavaScript. So the name of variable means the left hand side is loaded at the top. So JS works on two ways. The first is the memory part and the second is the execution part. When the first part will work, all your variables will be stored in the memory. So initially your var x will be loaded, not the value of x which is 3. So this is variable initialization and this is the assign value. So in variable hosting, the equal to matters, the assignment operator. So where x will be loaded first, but not the value of x. So when your code will compile or interpret it, like you all know, JavaScript is not a fully scripting programming language now. It is a scripting language, but modern browsers support JIT, just in time compilation. So during that compilation, process, what will happen? Your function will be called, like log function will be called, and then you can see what is happening. This value is undefined. To avoid this issue permanently, we should prefer using the block scope like let. So this is let, but if I use let before that, see this is called temporal dead zone in JavaScript. So this value is mutable, means you can change. So this is x3, we can change x from 3 to 5. But if I don't want to change the value, then simply use const. So const means immutable value, the value which is not let x, let y, and we cannot access this now. Okay. Now I cannot change the value of y, so y is immutable. If I change, see this assigned to constant variable is not allowed. Okay. Also, let and const are block scope elements, means we can use them inside a code block, a curly bracket block. So now this value is private. The scope of this is only within the block. We cannot access them outside the code block. Means outside this block, we cannot access x and y. But this is not the case with variable. So if it is a variable, we can even check this outside the block. See, the value is accessible. But if it's let, it is block scope. So we cannot access this outside the variable. Okay. So prefer using let and const over the traditional var in JavaScript. Then for the asynchronous programming, we should prefer using promises and async await. So by default, our JavaScript is synchronous. Synchronous means, so it is single thread and it is synchronous by default. So these are the features of modern or our popular JavaScript. So as we all know that JavaScript is the single programming which is used on front end, back end, software development, console application, mobile apps, animation, games, in fact AR, VR, 2D, 3D, and also in machine learning and data science areas. But JavaScript is the world's #1 popular programming language. It can be used on both front end and back end. Syntax is easy because it is based on a scripting language, but our modern browser supports JIT, means just in time compilation. That is why the syntax of JavaScript is easy, like Python and PHP, like other scripting languages, but it is faster than the traditional scripting programming languages. JavaScript is single threaded, so that means in my machine, in my laptop, there are 11 different threads. So in MacBook, usually it depends which processor you are using. If it's a simple like M3 processor, you can get 8 cores. If it's M3 Pro, you can get 11 cores. So this one is having some efficient and some performance core, but your default JS program will be executed on a single thread. So that's why JavaScript is called a single thread programming language. But yes, JavaScript is synchronous by default with asynchronous support. What is that? Let me see. If I type console.log1 or then I type console.log2 and then I type console.log3. So by default, these functions will be called one by one. First I'll get 1, then 2 and then 3. This is the default JS nature, means it is synchronous and single thread. Now, if I want to add some asynchronous programming, I can use a timer like set timeout with a callback. Even if I'm not using any delay, the default delay you can say it's 0, but actually it's not 0. It depends on your browser and user agent. See this, the 2 value is at the bottom because now this function will be called through the event loop. But yeah, it's a bit slow, means it's not as fast as others. You can check the timer. I use console.time or the performance in JavaScript. So this will start monitoring your time. And now see this, what is the time here? Instead of using log, I can use time and pass the value t. So let's see how much delay was there. So now you can see the delay is 1 millisecond, 1.9, sometimes 2 milliseconds. Okay. So instead of delaying program through timeout, we should prefer using a promise. So this is a promise. When the promise will be resolved, you will get 1 and then use the then handler, pass a callback function. So if I type I will get the value of 1. Again, this values function is asynchronous, means 1 you will get this value, but later on, not initially. So it is asynchronous. See 1, 3 and then 2. But if I check the performance and then pass the value t. So this is the difference between the performance. See, earlier it was up 1.5 to 2 millisecond, but when I'm using a promise, it is half millisecond. So that means promises are faster than the timer's functions. That is why instead of using Ajax, which is event based, we should prefer using the fetch API because fetch is based on promise, not event. So in JS, we have three types of main features like this is an event. So this function is also asynchronous. This means the current object. So here the current object is body. So this function will load at page load, but when I trigger the event like click event, then this anonymous function will be called. So this is my callback here. So I need to click on the body, see, and this function will be called. So this is also asynchronous in JavaScript. So promises are good for modern application and we can even prefer using async await for the modern API handling part. Then we have classes and access modifier. Now, this is a higher level of JavaScript. Earlier, JavaScript was just a programming language for form validations. Then we have different DOM level 1, 2, and ES5 in 2009. JS got some modern features, but the huge difference came in 2015. In 2015, JS launched the superior version, one of the best version of JavaScript, JavaScript ES6. So this is also known as ES 2015, but the initial name was ES6. So in ES6, JS introduced so many advanced features like classes, module, let and const, the arrow function, promises. So there JavaScript get a makeover from a traditional scripting programming language to a complete full-fledged programming language for web. But also JavaScript is not only a programming language of web, we can use the same JavaScript outside a web browser by using Node.js or Deno. In fact, there's also one more feature called Bun that is also a JavaScript runtime. So we can use the same JavaScript on backend and frontend. So Node.js, Bun, and Deno, they are JavaScript runtime environment. By using them, we can use the same JavaScript outside a web browser. So as we want more feature in JavaScript, so ECMA is responsible for the versioning of JavaScript. In fact, the official blog of JavaScript is MDN, Mozilla Developer Network. So the modern version of JavaScript is ES15, which includes promises with resolvers and these all other new features. So every year now after ES6, JS is getting some new updates. So every year we are getting some facelift. Like in a car, when we call this the facelift model. So in the facelift model, hardly a few things will be different. Means the look and feel, engines, performance, most of the things are same. The difference is very minor. So ES6 was a major version. After that, we are getting minor updates every year. Like in next year, we got async and await, we got the exponential operator, then we got rest and spread, we got async await and generators, then we got array.flat method and object.entries, then we got stream start trim and array.sort stable feature. In ES 2020, we got string.match and import means importing and exporting big int which is used to handle the numbers bigger than 53-bit because JavaScript is a 53-bit programming language. So we cannot handle numbers which are more than 2 raised to the power of 53 minus 1. To handle them, we need to prefer big integer in JavaScript. Also, instead of using window, we should prefer using global this. So these all are the latest feature in modern JavaScript. Sorry. Okay, so these are all the new features which we are getting. In fact, in last year we got array.to sorted. So when we sort an array in JavaScript, the original array is being sorted. So that means the actual array is sorted in the memory. So let's suppose I have an array cars where I have Swift, Polo, and I-20. Okay, so if I sort this array, I will use cars.sort. So see the actual array is sorted. So the all the so now the actual array is sorted. So that means in the memory, whole array is sorted. So now I cannot get the original one, means when the Swift was at the number one rank. So for that, we should prefer using two sorted. Although VS Code doesn't support this feature now, so you cannot get the IntelliSense. Two sorted is a modern feature. But yes, it is supported by the major browsers. If I use two sorted, see the data is sorted, but the class is still the same. We have Swift and then Polo and then I20. So two sorted, two reverse, they all are the modern feature in modern JavaScript arrays. So in short, our JavaScript support full OOPS proper. It's a fully and proper object-oriented programming language. But yes, in JavaScript, the means the OOPS part is basically based on prototypes, not classes. So normally, like in C++ and Java, the OOPS is based on classes. We have to define a class and then we can create instances. In JavaScript, we have an option. We can, without defining a class, we can create an instance, like by using a simple function, because JavaScript supports prototype-based inheritance model, not the classical, means the class-based one. We have access modifier like the public and private in JavaScript. We have module feature, which is a much awaited feature for Node.js. So earlier what happened when we import a file, the problem with the import tool is that import tool will means the script SRC will import all your variables inside. By using the module feature, actually we are restricting them. So that means the exported data will be imported, not all of them. Like if I use a external script, this is an external script with some variables. Pi is 3.14, r radius is 5. So if I import the script, see, now you will get the access of these variables. This is my pi and this is my r, means radius. So by using the import tool, we are actually restricting them. So means the features which we want, we can import, not all of them. So this is the import way. For import, we should prefer using import and export. For the file, prefer using export, like use export here instead of using a variable. So export, let's suppose p, okay? So you can use like this export variable name and the value should be like p pi.
Avinash,
Yes.
your voice was not properly audible. Like,
All right, just a minute.
speak little bit louder.
Got it.
Thank you.
Thank you. So let's say we have some variables and now I need to switch to export where p. So now export the variable this. So you can export, okay, variable name is not p, it's pi. So now only the pi data will be exported, not the radius. So radius will be preserved. For that, obviously we have to use a script with type module and then the import feature. So this is import. What to import? Let's suppose uh, x from where? From the module name app.js. And now if you type the value, you can get the value of x in the console. There is some export issue. App.js module.export. 1 second. Does not provide an export name x. Okay, there's not x. What is the name of variable? Okay, the name is pi. So use pi over there and see the value of pi is available. Okay. So these are the some modern features in the modern JavaScript. So this is the most recommended feature for Node.js and that is how our Node.js is recommended. It is fast and secure. Also, we have REST and spread, the destructuring assignment. We should prefer using Fetch API instead of using the Ajax one. So like in one of the class today, I can show you the code. I was teaching the same chapter, This is the current batch. So earlier I start giving the example of Ajax. So this is an Ajax. So how we can fetch an API data, a simple file data with Ajax. So with Ajax, we have to write this line of code. But by using fetch, only this amount of code is required. See, so we have to line a few line of code and see this. All right, I'm getting so many questions. So just wait till it's 6:07. Just wait for 6:30. I will give the answers of all the questions. But once this seminar is finished, okay? Yeah, I'm getting all the questions. So just write down your questions. I will give the answer of your questions, but at the end of this meeting, okay? So you can write your questions in Q&A and I'll answer them once the meeting is over. Means at 6:30 when the topic will be covered, and then I will give the answer of your questions and I will resolve all your queries, okay? Based on my knowledge.
Avinash voice.
Still there's some issue.
I
Okay.
don't know what's the issue, but yeah, it's not properly audible to us.
All right. Can you check it now? Is it okay?
Now it's okay. Now it's okay.
I
Little
think
bit
that
okay.
was the voice isolation mode which was creating issue. Now I have used the standard mic mode. I think if it's okay, then I can continue. Okay.
Can you please remove your headphone and try like once?
Laptop, my mic, you're talking about this one.
Yes.
Is it okay?
No, no.
All right. Just check it out once again.
Now it's fine. Now it's fine.
All right. So okay, I'll start using my laptop mic over this headphone then. Is it okay now? The voice is okay? Preeti?
Now it's clear.
All right. Thank you. So see, by using the modern fetch API, actually we're using less code than the traditional Ajax base. So using the traditional Ajax base, we have to write more and more code. We have to create an event, then we have to call the API, then we have to parse the data. So it's better to use the modern fetch API over the traditional Ajax technique. So this is the traditional Ajax, the old one, where first we have to create an object, then we have to open, then we have to create a send method, then we need to pass a listener, which should be either the ready state change or the load event. Then we have to define the ready state element like 2, 3. Okay, so it's better to use the modern fetch API. The fetch API is better and it is based on promise. So promise means it is faster than the event-based Ajax. So Ajax is based on event. This is based on the promise. So promise is always faster as compared to the event. Okay. All right. So this is another website performance and automation technique which I have discussed. Like instead of using simple JPEG image, we should prefer using WebP or SVG images. We should prefer using picture tag, and picture tag is also recommended for mobile. So there's one more issue when we use a picture. If I use a high resolution, a large picture, so obviously that picture is displayed on all the devices, means both for laptop and for the mobile. But for a mobile, if a person is using mobile data and his resolution is less, so we should consider using a low resolution image. So let's see how to handle that part. So this is my picture. This is 400 by 300. So right now my browser will load the web image. But for the small devices, like for a mobile, I can consider using a source with media. So this is the source with media and type. So the type of picture is, let's suppose, or you can use a small picture with media. So let me put another image. You are not getting some intelligence. So if you want intelligence, it's better to write a picture tag. Like I have a picture thumb image, cut this, and put it over there. Okay, so this is the source set, but when my device is maximum width less than, let's say, 480 or 460 pixels, this picture will be displayed only if your device is less than 460. So that means I'm talking about a smartphone, not tab and iPad. Let's see. This is desktop. The picture size is big, means we are getting the normal image. But if I check it on a smartphone, all right, this is the still the same image, the maximum width. Okay, I've skipped the column, 460 pixel. Mhm. Okay, the picture is replaced. Okay, I'm using the width and height attribute now. Okay, I have to remove this. See this, for the desktop, large screens. See, this is the picture. This is the big image with large size. So the size of the picture is 12.9 KB. But if my screen is low, like for a mobile, so my browser will display the small picture, the thumb picture, this one. It is just 2.4 KB. So for mobile browsers, we should consider using a small and low resolution image. And that is why I always consider for a web front-end developer or web developer, you should know how to use Photoshop, because these all tools and features are available in Photoshop, but not in other tools. Okay, so Photoshop is that is why I recommend it for designers and front-end developers. Like lazy loading, I've already told for images and iframe, we should always minify HTML, CSS, and JS file for the production website. What is this minification? This is my Tech Altum website, and if I inspect the code, you can check the source code. So you can see everything is minified. Means all my code is minified into single line of code. I'll give you another example. Like this is code.jquery.com. So the size of this jQuery file is some 280 KB. See, it's 83 KB, but after zip, gzip, without zip, it's 285. You can see this. The resource size is 285 and the download or the transfer size is 83.8. This is just because they are using gzip compression. It is also recommended to use gzip compression on the server and the minification part. So the file size is 285 KB, but the transfer size is just 83. Now, just use the minified version of this. You can see the huge difference. This file is just 30 KB and the resource is from 283 to 285 to just 87.5. So minifile will remove all the unnecessary white spaces, the new line enters, the tab spaces, and also the comments. So it's better to use all or reduce all of them in your final production code. It's recommended to use minified CSS and JS and even your HTML code for the production websites. And this is recommended for all the users. Then we should prefer using CDNs for static resources. So CDN stands for Content Delivery Network. So when we have more load on a website, more traffic, so all the static resources like your images and iframes and CSS should be uploaded on a high performance servers. Like you can use Cloudflare, which is one of the best CDN provider. So they have faster speed and they are using cloud platform. The latency is less. Like you can use Cloudflare or you can use CDN.js to load jQuery. So this is jQuery from CDN.js. Just copy this and paste. Now check it out. The loading time is just 4 millisecond. Disable the cache. And now you can see just 47 millisecond. It's just 19. Also, initially it was 47, now it's just 19 millisecond. It is just because of DNS caching. So DNS caching is also important part in web application performance. So once your DNS has been cached by your web browser, so you can see the loading time has been reduced. Initially it was more, but now it is just 20 or 25 milliseconds. Okay. So you should prefer using, like for this external JS or jQuery file, you should prefer using CDN instead of using your own local server or your own hosting server. Then we should use gzip compression on a server. So what is gzip? So like in Node.js, we use compressors for. What compressors do, like I have a folder which is not minified. So obviously the size will be more. So like I have this JS folder and the size of this JS folder is control I. It's 50.50.2 MB. So many files and JSON packages will be there. This is my jQuery, and if I check the size, 958 KB. Now I'll use the compression, like compress it. You can see the size of new file from 9, it just 842. Not a huge difference. Okay, I'll consider using this one. This is 50.2 MB. If I compress this, it's 31.8. So you can see a difference. So sometimes the difference is huge, sometimes the difference is less. It again depends on so many factors. For HTML and CSS, obviously the size will be different, but this doesn't work for web images because web images are already compressed. But for JPG, yes, they will compress it. You can see this from my tutorial. I'm using a compressor. So see this, the actual size of my frontend.html file is how much? It is showing just 6 KB, but the resource size is, see this, the resource size is 23.8 KB. So that means I'm using a zipping. So I'm zipping my file. That's why from 23.8 means 24 KB to the file transfer means size is just 6 KB. For all the files, I'm using the same thing. But yes, sometimes like if I use a web image, yeah, this one. The size is same. The file size is 62.8. In fact, the actual size is also 62.8 KB. So it is same because web images are already compressed. Okay. So we should using CDNs and gzip. Then for the external JavaScript which are not required, like Google Ads, Analytics, always prefer using async, means asynchronous attribute, or you can use the defer one. Async means your script will be loaded asynchronously, like this sync. If it is not so important, you can use async. But if you want this script to be loaded, but after the whole DOM part is over, then you can use the defer part. This will also improve the performance of, but it's not recommended to use it for jQuery. It's only recommended to use for like Google Analytics or some ads and all, okay, which are not so important on page load, but you want them, but later on. Also, we should reduce the unused CSS and JavaScript, and that is why we use SAS. Okay, so we use SAS so to reduce the unnecessary CSS load for multiple different files and avoid using unused JavaScript and unused the CSS files in your code. All right, let me see what's left. All right, there are some more tips. Like we should prefer using WAV2. So WAV2 is the modern image, modern web extension for the modern fonts. So if you want external form through Google CDN or through some any third-party website, so always prefer using WAV2. WAV2 is 35% lighter than the traditional font. So like for the traditional font, the size is big. In fact, the SVG images fonts are always heavy. So we have different font extension, WAV and WAV2, but it's always recommended to use WAV2. It is 30% lighter than the WAV, which is even better for most of the cases, but always prefer using WAV2. It's the lightest font and it is supported by all modern web browser from the last 7 to 8 years. Then load font asynchronously and use display swap. So when we are using a third-party font, so we use @font face, okay, and then the family of font. Let's suppose Montserrat, or you can use Roboto. Okay, then there you can define the path. There we have to use display font display swap. So this is also recommended because in your body you can call the font. The first the name of the font is Roboto. But if Roboto is missing, it's not available, then the replacement font is sans serif. Till the time the Roboto font is loaded from your server, means for the 10 to 12, 20 millisecond delay means the time this font will be loaded. Your browser will display the sans serif font. So means your content will be delivered to the user, but the font will be sans serif. And when this font is ready to use available, your browser will swap this. So this is recommended when we are using the font using @fontwiz or even in Google Fonts. So it is also a recommended way to improve the performance of web fonts. Now use system UI fonts for the best performance, and so this is my best recommendation. If you want best performance, don't prefer using third-party font from @fontwiz or even the Google font. Always prefer using the default system font, which is the system UI. In fact, just prefer using system UI and then sensor. System UI is the best recommended font for all the latest devices like MacBook, Windows laptop, AMD series, Intel series, any laptop. So it is supported by all the operating system, Windows, Android, Linux, iOS, iPadOS, all the devices. And it is better. It got all the proper weight, thick. It got different weightness, like from weightness from 100 to 900. All the different weights will be supported in system UI. For Windows, normally the number of weights are 5, means from 100 to 900. But for a MacBook, you can there will be 9 different ways. See this? I'm using MacBook. So if I change the weight of H1, font value. So 100 is supported. See, this is font weight 100. This is supported by my device. Then 200 is also there, 3 is also there, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. All 9 weights are have been defined in the system UI. So it's better to use system UI instead of using traditional sans serif or other fonts. Then always focus on mobile performance. So nowadays the time is different. Responsive web design was a part, means 2013 onwards, Google start prioritizing mobile websites. And that is why nowadays we have more mobile user than the desktop. This is my article on responsive. There you can see the mobile user in worldwide are 57.8%, means 57.8%, 87% user are using mobile for web surfing, but desktop user are just 40.2. So yes, even in India, so many people are using smartphones, and the web is now been shifted from a desktop device to mobile. So more people are using websites on mobile rather than the desktop one. So that means our website should be mobile friendly, touch friendly, and performance optimized for the mobile device. In fact, even for the mobile, I still recommend always check out the lowest visible screen size. Like 360 is the average size for the most of the devices, because as per the world data, mostly users are buying the average smartphone price in worldwide is below $200. That means around 16 to 17,000 in India. For them, the screen resolution is 360. Although 390 is the second one, which is used by iPhone 12, 13, and 14. But iPhone 15 onwards, the screen resolution is 393. In fact, now Apple has launched 400 plus pixels, like 440 for the latest iPhone 16 Pro Max, and 403 or something, 410 for the iPhone 16 Pro model. So the screens are getting bigger, but they all are below 480. So our website should be optimized for desktop plus mobile devices, including performance, and that is why you should prefer using picture tag, one of the important one. Then we should use the Lighthouse, which is the inspect part in Google Chrome and Google Page Speed Index, or even you can use GT metrics for the performance monitoring of your website. So I always prefer using these tools for any website. Like if I talk my tutorial, if I go to inspect, so first of all, if you want to test your website performance, it's better not to use your normal Chrome. In normal Chrome, so many times we people install extensions. Like right now, I'm not using any extension. All the extensions are not safe to use. That's why. So it's better always prefer incognito mode and then type your URL, press enter, and then go to your Lighthouse. This will also remove the cache and all those things. So now click on desktop and see the performance of your website. In fact, the speed rank can vary. Might be right now it's 99 and after some time it will be 95. Or sometime even you can get 100 out of 100 score. Like see this, I got 100 out of 100 scores in all the parameters. My website performance is 100 out of 100, means it's one of the best one. The accessibility is 100 out of 100. There is no user or poor user experience. The best practices are all used and SEO is also 100%. So out of this 400 score, I am getting all the marks on my live website. But always test your website in incognito. Don't use the normal mode because the normal mode, there are so many browser caching and the other things. Like in fact, your uh, extensions will be there. So it's better to always test your website on incognito. In normal mode, sometimes it can be 100, or but sometimes this will give you some false results. Let me see. Okay, it's giving 100 out of 100 because there is no extension in my laptops. That is also one of the reason. But it's recommended always to use the incognito mode. So this will give you four different parameters. You can get the performance, the accessibility, the best practices, and the SEO. In fact, always consider using the same thing for the mobile device. Click on this. Okay, I prefer using incognito. If your site is more than 90, then it's good. So see, I'm getting 98. I'll tell you why the reason why I'm getting two less points out of 100. The reason is that Google always prefer cloud servers. They are having best performance with very low latency. And for this test, usually Google pick a old mobile. I can show you the mobile which Google is considering to check the performance. It's a simulator. So the first contentful page was 1.9 second, which is a bit slow as per Google test. But yes, they are still using the old devices. Like I can show you which device they are using for the test part. So see, they are using this device. The name is Motorola. Yeah, it's Moto G Power. Yes, so they are using a Moto G Power phone. I don't remember the which Android version they are using. It's Chrome 130 Moto G Power. Let me search. Which phone is this? Moto G Power Motorola. Okay, it's a 2025 phone. Okay, it's a latest phone. 63 chipset, 128 GB. All right, so obviously it's a new phone, but yeah, Google is using slow 4G throttling, means they are using the internet. See, with 1638 kbps, means the speed, the simulated speed is just less than 2 Mbps. Although on 5G, we are even getting 200 to 300 Mbps speed, but they are just using 2 Mbps. In fact, lower than 2 Mbps internet because they are using slow 4G. So obviously for that speed means the speed of 1.5 Mbps you won't get the 100 out of 100 score. But on real term, when you check on a real device, a normal 5G device, in fact, a normal 4G phone, because even in India on 4G, the average internet speed is more than 20 to 30 Mbps. So on a normal average 4G internet, even with one or two tower, you can simply get a better speeds, means better results. So the performance will be more than 98 on most of the devices. This is checking for a slow 4G, not a normal or traditional 4G. It's a single page session, and this is the initial page load time by using the Chrome debug tool. But yeah, it is one of the important factor while considering the performance of any website. Okay.
Sorry to interrupt you, Avinash.
Mm.
Actually, I would like to ask my audience if they have any query, please write it down in a Q&A tab. We are starting our Q&A session soon.
So I will start the Q&A part just within 1 minute. Okay.
Yeah, do you have anything left or you are done with everything, Avinash?
Just last one line.
Okay, okay, then complete this.
So the last topic is use NGINX or Lightspeed server. So usually people use Apache. So Apache was the world's #1 web server, but the reason the Apache was the 10K. There is a performance lag in Apache when the number of connections are more than 10,000. So for that, it's better to use NGINX or light speed server. In fact, for my own website, I'm not using Apache server anymore. I'm using NGINX. So that is why also means my website is based on PHP. The backend is PHP, but I'm not using Apache. On Apache, when there are more of number of users on your website, your performance will be lagged. That is also one of the reasons so many PHP websites and WordPress websites got hanged when the traffic or crowd is more. And that is also one of the reason why companies are switching from traditional application like .NET and PHP to Node.js, because Node.js is fast and efficient. In fact, for many Node.js application, we should prefer using the NGINX web server. That is also the reason Node.js is getting popularity. In fact, Node is among the top 5 popular backend nowadays. Although Node was launched just in 2009, it's hardly been 14 to 15 years, but still it is among the top 5 popular backend. In fact, very soon, within 1 or 2 years, you will see the number of websites using Node will be the ranking of Node.js will be among the top two. Node will overtake Java, then .NET, and then Ruby. Node cannot overtake PHP. It's not easy to overtake PHP because for the PHP, you can get the lowest, the cheapest hosting. Like you can get your web hosting just within 500 rupees. But obviously for Node.js, you have to spend more because you need a private server, and private server will cost higher rather than using this shared hosting. So PHP can be used on shared hosting, but for Node, it's recommended to use a VPS. Okay. So PHP will be number one, but Node will overtake Java, .NET, and Ruby within 1 or 2 years. Like I'm teaching Node from the last 7 years. 7 years back, Node was not among the top five one. In fact, Node was the ranking of Node was just under top 10. See now it's used by 4.1% website, and very soon this will overtake Java, .NET, and Ruby. Okay. All right. So this is like the real-time test of my website, as I've shown 100 out of 100. So how you can get the best performance of your website. So even if your website traffic is more, that is not an issue. All we have to use, we have to consider using some optimization technique. So just remember, the web performance is one of the most important topic. We all know Google is the top search engine in the world, but we doesn't know why Google is number one. The time was there when the Yahoo was number one search engine, but obviously, when Yahoo was the number one search engine, the loading time of Yahoo was slow. We have used Yahoo before 2005 and 6, but when Google came, everyone got speed. Means even we are using internet. If internet is not working, we are using Google because the loading time of Google is just 1 second, and that is the reason this website is getting popularity. That is why Google is the number one popular search engine in the world. Okay, so the yes, in a website, performance is a very important and a crucial role. Okay. All right. Over to Preeti.
Yeah, so guys, please, if you have any question, write it down in a Q&A tab. And I am launching our session feedback. Please do fill it out.
All right. So Preeti, let me start with the Q&A. We have 9 unocean questions.
Yeah, so
All right.
let's start with the first one.
All
Okay.
right. So I got
Uh,
the first question.
First
Okay.
question is, how do you stay updated with the latest trend in web performance optimization?
All right. So see, the thing is that we should always check the right tools on internet. Like the tools are not fixed. Like earlier, I used GT metrics. Then there's one was speed test by Google. But nowadays, it's recommended to use the Google Lighthouse because in the Google Lighthouse, you are getting all the four different parameters. Like you can get the speed, you can get the usability, you can get the accessibility, you can even get the SEO. So all the features are inside a single tool, and that tool is developed and maintained by Google, which is the number one popular search engine in the world. So it's better to use the Google's technique now, because if you want your website at the top of Google, so it's better to use Google techniques. I'll give you a real-time example how some of my articles are at the top of Google. Like when I've launched my Angular article. So if I type Angular 70 tutorial, it's almost 1 year I have written this article, but still it's at the number one position on the Google, not even in India, in all over the world. So the reason is the speed of the website, and I frequently update all the topics in this. So that's why I always recommend to use a Lighthouse. It is the best and the most recommended tool for modern website. Okay.
Okay, so let's move
Yeah,
to
the
second
performance
question.
features will change. Like Lighthouse can change your website ranking. Like earlier, I give you one, Preeti, just a minute. I want to give one more example for the same question. Like earlier, when I test the performance of this article, I was getting 100 out of 100. But soon after some time, I start getting a poor rating for this article. Let's suppose this topic or any other topic. Let's suppose this article. Or you can type, okay, this one. JavaScript article. All right. So the thing is that the difference between these two elements is more was less. So when I means the same article was getting 100 out of 100 on all the parameters in Google, but after some time, approx 1 year back, update one new update. In that update, if the clickable elements like hyperlinks are not well placed, means the gap is less, then they will deduct some points. So now I'm using one more extra parameter, like for the specific mobile devices, I'm adding more margin to my elements. See, this is my li. For this device, the margin is 6. Otherwise, the margin is less. Okay. So this is also one of the factor which we consider. So always check it, means you should prefer using this factor, this tool after 1 or 2 months for your website. Okay. And the second is the most commonly asked front-end back-end interview question. All right. So mostly we people think that the interview questions are predefined, but no, this is not a scenario. Like if I take interview for any candidate, I always check his eyes. Is he confident or not? So yeah, there are so many books. In fact, I have there are some popular interview questions on my own tutorial. You can go through the Tech Atom tutorial. These are for user interface development. These are for Java. So these are for AngularJS. These are for HTML. I defined some important questions, but most of the main thing should be your topics and points should be clear. If the technical person knows that you are not confident, he will get into the depth of the same question. So in short, if you're giving the answer, make sure you know the exact answer. Don't just learn the answer, simply just know it. If you know the answer, you can create your own words. Okay. So there are no specific interview question. So it's just a myth that if you learn, I have seen so many students in my online classes, in the classes, they have learned from YouTube, some online videos, they have learned some questions, and they even got placed in industry. But like you all know, just 3 days back, Infosys has just simply I think 700 plus candidates they have removed just because they don't have adequate knowledge. So they were giving assessments and they are getting failed and failed every time. So the reason is that they are not up to the mark the company is demanding. So the thing is, yes, you should get a better instructor, a good teacher, and I always recommend using a proper website and blogs for studying. I don't recommend using YouTube channels because I've seen so many students because usually they manipulate students. Like just learn these 5 minutes topic and you can crack the interview. So cracking interview is not the first priority. You should go into the depth so that you can even survive in the crucial time like COVID or the recession. Okay. So you should make yourself recession proof. So always pick a topic, go into the depth. Always recommend the official website or the website written by some famous author. Like for HTML, is a JavaScript. Prefer using MDN, or you can even consider my one is not a documentation, it is a tutorial. But for the official documentation, always prefer MDN. For Node.js, always prefer Node.js official documentation. Like for I have written all the Node article, but still the documentation is a documentation. In fact, for my Angular, I always recommend using the official blog for the Angular because they are written by the expertise in the domain. Okay. I mean, they are proper professional developers. You can trust them. And always check who has written the article which you are reading from internet. Always check the means a history of the YouTubers if you are following them. Like you can see my LinkedIn profile. Okay. All right.
Okay,
Uh,
so next question is, what tools do you use for performance testing and debugging?
All right. So like performance testing for the simple static website, like I told you, the Lighthouse tool is best. Okay. Although we can even use the GT matrix and some other tools like I've given in the PPT. So GT matrix is also good, but right now it's better to use the Google Lighthouse. So it includes the desktop performance. It also includes the mobile performance, and it includes all the four different parameters which are required, like performance, accessibility, and SEO, and the best practices.
Okay, so another one is, how important is having a GitHub portfolio and what should I include?
All right. So your GitHub profile is very much nowadays. In fact, when I have started my development career, that time GitHub was not there. So that time I have a very good Stack Overflow profile. So if you all know about the Overflow, it is a very good website from where we just put some questions and some you can answer the questions and answer. So in fact, so many companies hire candidates based on their Stack Overflow profile. Like this is my profile. It's been 10 plus years. I'm questioning and answering my questions over there. Like when the JavaScript ES6 was launched, so many people don't know what's the difference between local storage and cookies. So I've written this answer, which is among the highest rated answer on the portal. See this, so it's on Stack Overflow, this answer was the top one. So nowadays it's better to switch, like Stack Overflow is also there. It's like a Google for developers, but yes, your GitHub profile should be there. In fact, I always ask my students to create a GitHub profile within 2 months. So when they start learning the HTML part and they start building their projects, I recommend them just start with your GitHub profile, upload your projects over there. In fact, I have added so many open source projects on my GitHub profile so students can learn from them. So yes, your GitHub profile is like your online resume nowadays. Your GitHub and the second your LinkedIn profile. Okay.
So another question is there any extension for mobile media query testing like viewing in mobile screen?
What is the question where I can see that question. Okay, it is by the Sumo. Is there any extent
Yeah.
mobile media query testing like viewing in mobile scene? Sumu, yes, there was an extension, not extension, there was a tool, but I am not using that tool anymore because that tool required a Windows laptop with Android device. But I can show you how that works. For that, make sure you should have a Chrome on your phone and your Windows laptop. I cannot use it because I'm not having an Android phone right now. You should opt using Chrome, then double colon inspect. This was the tool. So you can simply search this tool on Google. So for that, first of all, make sure you should having a Windows laptop. Okay, so a Windows laptop with a data cable that should be connected with your Android device, and make sure both your Chrome and phones and the which one the your laptop Chrome browser should be updated. Then when you open this inspect tool, you can see the list of your Android device. Okay, so when you connect, so by clicking on this, you can get a live preview of your mobile inspect, but I cannot show you that tool right now because I'm using a MacBook and I don't think so that Android device can be configured or read by the Mac OS. Okay, but yes, I can use the same feature for my Safari because the Safari browser support this feature for iPhones. So like if I use the Safari, I can use the debugger and inspect. See, this is the development using a smartphone. So you can use the usage agent for a smartphone. Just simply connect your mobile through Safari and you can use the develop tool to do the responsive testing for the real device. Means open the website on your Safari, but you can check it on your desktop Safari browser. Okay. So this I can do right now, but I cannot do the Android part. For that, I have tried it on a Windows laptop with an Android phone. But make sure, or even on your Windows laptop, your OS operating system and your Chrome should be latest and updated one. Otherwise, that tool will not work. Okay, there are so many compatibility issue with that tool. So just note down the name of the tool. It's Chrome colon inspect. It's a built-in feature by the Chrome. Click on devices, and there you will get the list of the devices. So right now, like it's showing a remote device localhost. It's my Sony Bravia TV. Okay, So, but yeah, obviously I cannot config it. Yeah, but it's an Android device. That is why it might be it's showing. Yeah, it's an Android TV. No, that's why. I also have a Google TV, but that Google TV is not in the list. Might be this tool only support Android TVs, but Google TV is also Android TV. Might be. So this is how discover USB devices. You can even use the port configuration and you can even use the configuration if the IPA is different. I use this tool, I think 2015 or 16. That time I'm having MacBook and also a Windows laptop. And I was also using the virtual machines. But yeah, that was a very helpful tool to test real-time testing for a mobile device. Nowadays, it's simple, better to just go to your Chrome inspect and choose relevant device. See, you can choose the iPhone SE. This tool is 98% relevant, means correct. Okay. Like on the previous page, you can see there was some minor issue. See, the viewport meta tag is missing. Okay, but how it's missing? This should be the meta viewport. Okay, I have the meta viewport. Okay, there might be some issue with the viewport. That is why you can see this inspector. So it's better to use this tool. This is 98% correct. Not 100, but yeah, 98% it's okay. Yes, over to
Sarvesh is writing, I mean the basic features.
the basic features for what?
I don't know, Sarvesh, can you please write properly your question?
Okay, Sarvesh, I cannot get your question. Can you write it down?
Till then, let's move to another question, which is what are the most in demand web development skills in 2025?
Well, if you're talking about the most demanding web development skills, first of all, they are not fixed. These things can vary time to time. Like this is the complete full stack circles. We have front end, we have back end. But yes, if you want easy job, so always consider using PHP as your first backend language. There are so many jobs in PHP. It is recession free. There are so many CMSs like WordPress, Shopify, and there are so many frameworks. But yes, if you want better package, so then earlier Java was the number one choice, and nowadays Node.js is even better one. So like if for a fresher, I always consider start your career as a MERN stack developer. Although I'm a mean stack teacher, I teach Angular, not React, but I still recommend students to learn React because React is easier than Angular. Angular is a enterprise level framework. So it's better to start with the easy one like React, which is a library. So yes, MERN stack is more in demand nowadays, but might be after 1 or 2 years, Angular will again pick up. So like before 2018, like 2016 and 17, Angular was number one, not React. But now React is top in demand. So always check the factors on the internet, what all things are more in demand.
Okay.
Okay. But the languages is same. JS will be the number one language always. Always like for all my students, those are getting 40 to 50 LPA in Delhi, NCR or Bangalore. So they know the base means they know both React, Angular, and Vue. Means in fact, I always recommend first main focus should be on the vanilla JavaScript. You can simply create any website, means the feature which you want to use by using React or Angular, you should be able to write those features by using vanilla JS. So vanilla JS means the plain JavaScript without jQuery, without using any third-party library. So if you are able to do that, that means you are the best developer in world. Okay, so now you can learn any framework because frameworks have some time span. Earlier, Angular was number one, then React came. Might be 1 or 2 year, React will be at the second position, Angular will be at the top. It depends, but JS will be always at the top, both in the front end part and then again in the back end part. Like earlier, Java was the number one language, but that was a time. Then Python overtake Java, but Python is not recommended for web application. It is mainly for data science, AI areas. Okay. For the web application, if you want to be a web developer, the only single language is JavaScript. Learn JavaScript from the zero, from the scratch, from the beginning to the advanced, the high level. Then start with the framework or library like React, jQuery, Bootstrap, and then go with and build some projects, some portfolio, and then move to the backend part like Node.js. Okay, so go simply go step by step. In fact, I have written the complete roadmap for the front end part. See, this is the complete roadmap for the front end. Then start considering your framework and library, and then start with the backend, means the Node.js.
Okay. So Sarvesh has asked, basic feature of an website. Actually, he want to know like all the features which need to be present in a website.
Features like there should be the search feature. The website should be accessible to everyone. A website should be fast. I think you're talking about these feature, I think. See, normally a website is mainly, it should be a dynamic website, means both front end and the back end part will be there. Okay, you should consider using the performance optimization technique. Make sure your website is always in means working. There's no lagging behind. It should be properly optimized. Because the features also include the UI and UX part, not the design part. Some people love the dark theme, some people love the light, but I always prefer a simple website like Google, just a white screen with just a Google, but still it's a number one website.
Okay. So Puna Sajid is asking, is simple JWT authentication safe enough for client application?
See, Puna's JWT authentication is mainly for the backend. So I teach JWT authentication in Node.js. Okay, so the authentication part is main. See, JWT, we cannot use JWT without the backend part. So obviously, first we should start with the backend. We should install JWT like I use the Postman, not Postman, what we call. So I use a middleware like Passport.js and then I use Passport with JWT. So yes, it is secure for the Node.js application. Okay, and yes, it is safe just because Node.js is also safe. So the safety and performance also depends on the backend language, not on the front end part alone. Like don't use your tokens or your keys on the front end file. It's always recommend to use them in the .env. Like if you're using an API, so I always recommend don't put your API in your front end code. Always put your API in the .env file of your Node.js application for security and performance.
Okay, so Rohit Singh is asking, please tell us about some node module for creating crude applications easily.
So CRUD applications, like you're talking about the database-based CRUD application or the file one. It depends now, like what all CRUD. Like if you want to know for the Node.js application, for the simple database CRUD operation, I always recommend using Mongoose, which is the best ODM for MongoDB. If you're using a NoSQL like MongoDB based database, but if you're using an SQL based database, then I recommend using SQLize. This one. So if you're using a SQL-based database, then SQLize is the best choice because it is supported by all the modern database for like SQL bases like Oracle, Postgres, MySQL, and MariaDB, SQLite, and SQL Server, all the famous one. But yes, for the Node means no SQL databases, I recommend using Mongoose. It is far safe and it got both the means what we call typecast. So we are getting the types and we are also getting the validations in built-in validation, which is actually an out of the box feature for Mongoose. Because in MongoDB, there is no data types and there is no length for the data. But in Mongoose, we can get those features and they are out of the box. So that is also why Mongoose is best recommended for NoSQL based databases.
Okay, Rohit is saying thank you to you.
All right.
So
Thank you, Rohit.
another question, should I invest in paid courses or are free resources enough?
See, Kiran, I always recommend like it all. See, first of all, it depends on so many parameters. I always avoid using to spend lakhs of amount for the courses because these people are not teaching means 1 lakh, like 1 lakh is not a recommended fees for the front end course. But yes, some institutes and companies are charging just showing a very simple word in their ads, 100% job guarantee. But yeah, there is no 100% job guarantee. I am from IIT Kharagpur. I have got All India rank 120, but in fact, IIT Kharagpur doesn't offer 101% job guarantee. So the thing, like you're talking about your question, always it now it depends. If you already know the some basics part, like if you know the HTML, CSS, JavaScript in depth, you are working in some domain, then it's better to buy the Udemy courses or on the online tutorial. Then it is okay. But if you really want to start your career, So it's better to start with the paid. Because the thing is, when you got instructor-led training, you mean the instructor will solve all your doubts. So it's just like you know about the scalar and vector quantities. In the scalar quantities, we have only magnitude, but there is no direction. This is the same the case. So when you are learning a new technology like front end and full stack without any mentor, so you are simply putting your efforts, but you don't know the right direction. So if you opt for the paid one, but under a guidance, not the online one, the recorded one. No, I'm not considering the recorded one. It's better to buy a Udemy course if you means if you are buying a recorded videos. Like I've seen so many institutes are charging up to 40, 50,000, but they are still providing you the recorded courses. No, always opt for the instructor-led training, whether it's an online class or a offline class, so that you should talk to the instructor. There should be a one-to-one session with the teacher, and your teacher will see all your questions, all your doubts, and then he'll get back to you. So it means you should be accessible to your teacher. There should be some communication now. Like for all the engineering degrees, BTech, it's all mean there's no off-campus BTech now, means an offline BTech. No, BTech is always considered in a engineering college under AICT. We cannot do BTech on through correspondence mode. So similarly, I talk about the same front-end and full stack skills. If you are already a programmer, like you are expertise in Java and you only want to learn some module in Angular, some basics in React, you know some basics of JavaScript, then you can consider using an online tutorial, means instructor led, or even the recorded one. But if you want to start your career from the zero, I never recommend online teachers or means online video lectures. Always go for instructor led training.
Okay, so another question is, how do you monitor and debug production applications effectively?
See, Kiran, now it depends on so many factors, like which backend I'm using. Like I'm having the my TechAtom website. For my TechAtom website, the backend is based on PHP. So I have a web config file, not web config, a error.log file in my website. Whenever I'm getting some error on my tech item or my tutorial website, I've got it notified over there. But if you talk about the different backend, like if you talk about my Node.js application, the parameters are different. For that, obviously, I have to use some other different categories.
Okay, so
It depends on the type of website and application. It's a static one, the dynamic one, which backend, which database, are the application optimized or not?
second last question is, how do you handle distributed system and microservice in a scalable way?
Well, Kiran, it depends. Like if you using means microservices. So for the backend part, normally Java is best recommended for microservices, and the second backend means the microservices backend is mainly depend on ASP.NET. But yes, Node.js is also best recommended for microservices because Node.js work on different and distributed architecture. You can create a web application. Parallelly, you can work the same architecture, means run the same architecture by using means by using the same platform, but for a different application. Like you can use the same for web, you can use the same for mobile, you can use the same for another type of application. But for the front end part, like in Angular, I'll recommend using a framework. Like Angular is a proper framework. You can handle a web application. In fact, you can handle the front end part of a mobile application by using the Angular framework. It is well suitable for distributed architecture for front end part.
Okay, so here is the last question. How does browser caching impact website speed and how should it be configured?
Well, browser caching is a very important part. Like if I talk about the Google Chrome browser, when Google launched their browser, Google Chrome in 2008, I know the depth of this thing because Sundar Pichai was a part. He was one of the student of IIT Kharagpur, my senior. I haven't seen him, but yeah, he was a senior
Mhm.
from the same college. So he was a person who was behind Google's technical team. Although he was not a technical person, means he was a metallurgical department student. Most of them student doesn't know that he's an from a CS or IT background. He was from a metallurgical department. He has done his bachelor's from IITs, then master's from outside abroad, and then he got placed in Google. So he only means command candidates like you should prefer using consider means we want these types of application and we want these types of features. Now use your brain, create means he just add some ideas and the developers are just simply following them. Okay. So when Google launched their web browser, the first feature in Google Chrome was the Google Chrome browser was very fast as compared to Mozilla, as compared to the Internet Explorer. And the reason was that Google was not using the traditional transpilers, not transpiler, the interpreted approach. Google is using V8, which is just-in-time compiler. And that is why Google, usually on Google Chrome, we thought, okay, the website, internet is fast. But actually, the internet is not fast. The JavaScript is compiled, but on other browsers like Firefox and Internet Explorer, the website was interpreted. So that is why the internet on Internet Explorer, the website speed was slow, but on Google Chrome, the website is fast. Another technique, so that means the first trick which Google uses, instead of using an interpreter for JavaScript, they create their own compiler. The second trick, Google uses DNS caching. So what is DNS caching? Like I have mentioned in my blog, use prefetch in the Ajax or Angular based application. I'll share my screen again. Preeti, just check my screen is visible now.
Yeah, it's visible.
All right. So like I want to use this API. This is api.posterpincode.in. So when I hit this button, when I click the submit key, first my browser will pick the cache the DNS. So earlier, so say this is a URL. This is not IP address. This is a URL. So first browser need to find out the IP address by using DNS configuration. So now this will waste some time, like 200 to 150 millisecond. So I am using a prefetching technique at the top. So on the page load, my browser will first cache the DNS, means the domain name server. So on every website, there is an IP address behind that. But we usually type the website name at the top. So we never type the IP of Google. We always type google.com. So let me show you the IP address of Google. You can simply type ping and type Google. 1 second. So see, 1 second, ping google.com. So this is the IP 142.250 and this is the IP of Google. If I click on this, see this now if I enter, see this website will be redirected to google.com. So on all the websites, we always have a hidden IP address. It's like a GPS location. So I'm staying in Noida, but obviously there will be some GPS coordinate behind that. So for all the running website, there is some IP address. Like there will be some IP address of my website. There will be some IP address of my AWS server. So Google used this feature. They use the DNS caching part, and that is also one of the reason the performance of Google Chrome browser as compared to some other browser is fast because they use the DNS caching feature. But one thing I'll tell you, oh, Google is not the fastest browser. Actually, Safari is the fastest browser. I can show you a real-time speed test. I was writing a research paper on the performance of JavaScript with one of my professor. So this is some of the points, key points for that. This is the page where a 2000 line of loop will run on the click of the button. If I click on this, you can see this is 2000 list item means li and the time to do this is 539 millisecond on my MacBook, which is a MacBook Pro, M3 Pro and 18 GB of RAM. So the time is 4:39. Click again. You can get some average time. It's sometimes it's even slow, but the average time is 530 or 540. See, it's usually lie in between that. Now just cut this and use Safari, which is a different browser, but we have same processor, we have same laptop, we have same internet, everything is same, but only I'm changing my browser. Click on this. See, it's 480, but the fastest time was 410. In short, Safari is faster than Google Chrome in some parameters, like in the JavaScript execution. So the performance of website also depends on the browser which you are using. And that is also one of the reasons when we use Safari, we thought it is fast, but actually it's not fast. The browser matters. Means it's not the MacBook which is fast. Their browser, the mobile Safari browser is very optimized. So we prefer using the caching feature by, in fact, the Google Chrome and the Safari, they all are using caching feature. And that is also one of the reason we have seen so many times that Google is consuming more RAM just because they are using more and more of caching. In fact, when you open a page, like if you open this page, once this page is fully loaded, You can see all the static resources are automatically cached. See this? This is client-side caching. We cannot control it. We can control the server caching, not the client one. That is a part of backend. So you see this, these all files are from the disk or the memory cache. Now refresh this. I'm getting the files, the CSS and JS file, but not from my server, from the memory cache. Memory cache means my RAM. So Google is using more and more of RAM. Like in my laptop, Google Chrome can use up to 4 GB of RAM for a single website. That is called the heap storage limit in Google Chrome. For that, you can check your performance dot memory. So this is the Chrome feature performance dot memory. So the limit for the Google Chrome is this number of, you can simply divide it by 1024, then 1024, and then 1024. Now this value will be in GB, gigabyte. So see, 1 second. I need to multiply this, not divide. So in my MacBook, Google Chrome can use up to 4 GB of RAM. So this is the limit for the caching and the heap storage. But yes, but this is the storage, this is the limit for the heap, not actually the caching. But in my previous MacBook, which was a MacBook Air, and the RAM was just 8 GB, for that the limit was only 2 GB. So that means it also depends which how many RAM and how much your operating system is assigning to that application. Like if it's MacBook like this, so might be Safari is using more RAM than Google Chrome in MacBook. So it depends on your operating system, how much operating system is allowing your application.
Okay, so now we are done with our Q&A session as well. Is there anything, Avinash, which you want to convey to our audience?
So it's all done from my end, and I would like to say thanks to everyone to attend this seminar, and I would also like to thanks Preeti.
Thank you, Avinash. Thank you for such an insightful session. I'm sure everyone has learned valuable tips for building web application. We truly appreciate your time and expertise in making this. This is a great learning experience. Thank you all for being a part of this session. We appreciate your enthusiasm and hope you found the discussion insightful and practical. If you have any further question, please feel free to reach out to us or connect with Avinash. Don't forget the session recording will be available on YouTube and LinkedIn for you to revisit anytime. We hope to see you in future session. Have a great day everyone and happy learning. And once again, thank you Avinash.
Welcome. Thank you, Preeti. Thank you, everyone. Okay,
Thank
bye-bye.
you.
And take care and all the best for your career.